In 1973, this man could have run General Motors. 9 years later, FBI agents walked into a hotel room near Los Angeles airport and arrested him, on camera, on cocaine charges. A jury cleared him of every single one. It made no difference, none at all. By the time that verdict came, the thing he had actually built was already gone. This is the story of John DeLorean and the beautiful, impossible car that carried him to the edge of history before it took everything he owned. It's a story about ambition, about timing, and about how the same qualities that build an empire can be the ones that bring it down. To understand the fall, you have to see how high he climbed. John DeLorean was a genuinely gifted engineer, and he rose through the American car business fast. He also didn't look like the men around him. In a company of gray suits and careful memos, DeLorean was loud, restless, and impatient. He trusted his own instincts over the committee's, and for a long time, those instincts were right. At Pontiac, he was chief engineer on the 1964 GTO, the car usually credited with kicking off the muscle car era. It took a sensible mid-size car and turned it into something people genuinely lusted after. Not everyone hands him sole credit for it. His colleague, Bill Collins, argued for decades that the GTO had more than one father. But the win made DeLorean a star. In 1965, at just 40, he was put in charge of Pontiac. He was the youngest man ever to run one of GM's car divisions. From there, he ran Chevrolet, the biggest division of them all, then rose to group vice president. Each step took him closer to the chief executive's office. He was being groomed for the top of the biggest car maker on Earth, and almost everyone assumed he'd get there. By 1973, he had one of the best jobs in American industry and a clear path to the one job above it. Most men would have waited for that. DeLorean didn't wait. And then he left. In April 1973, at the peak, he walked out of General Motors. Why he left depends on who you believe. He always said he walked, that he was tired of building what he called the wrong cars the wrong way. GM insiders told reporters he'd been pushed. Both versions ran in the papers, and both still do. Either way, the result was the same. The most talked about executive in Detroit was suddenly a free agent with something to prove. He had spent his whole career inside the biggest car company in the world. Now he wanted to prove he didn't need it. That's a powerful motive, and it's also a dangerous one. What he wanted to build was a car with his own name on it. He called it the DMC-12. The 12 came from the price he promised, a target of around $12,000, a real sports car an ordinary buyer could reach. Think about what he was really selling. Not just a car, but a piece of the future you could park in your own driveway. Everything about it was designed to feel like tomorrow had arrived early. It would wear brushed stainless steel panels, left bare, no paint, no clear coat. Panels the company said would never rust. It would open to the sky on gull-wing doors. And it was styled by Giorgetto Giugiaro, one of the greatest car designers who ever lived. The stainless steel wasn't only practical, it was a statement. A car that refused to be painted like every other car. The gull-wing doors turned an ordinary arrival into an event. On paper, it looked more like the future than anything else on an American road. But there's a catch buried in that dream, and it's easy to miss. DeLorean wasn't just designing a car. He was building an entire car company from nothing. A new brand, a new factory, a new workforce, all at once. Even the giants he came from stumbled at that. He was attempting it alone, on borrowed money, with one model to carry the whole weight. But a car needs a factory, and this is where DeLorean made the bet that defined everything. He didn't build in Detroit. He built in Dunmurry, on the edge of Belfast in Northern Ireland. It was the height of the Troubles, in one of the most troubled corners of the industrial world. Understand what that choice meant. This was not where anyone built a shining luxury car. But a gleaming factory full of jobs was worth almost anything to a government with little else to offer a divided city. So, a deal got done. The British government wanted jobs badly enough to pay for them. It put at least £77 million into the project, well over $100 million at the time. At the height of production, in 1982, the plant employed about 2,500 people. For DeLorean, the money was a lifeline. For Belfast, the factory was hope. And everything now rode on one car selling in big numbers. The first production car was announced in January 1981. Almost at once, the dream met the arithmetic. The $12,000 promise? Gone. At launch, the price was around $25,000. Part of that was just 1970s inflation. Most of it was that the car cost far more to build than he'd promised. There were quality problems too, and the car landed in the middle of an American recession, exactly when buyers stopped reaching for a pricey, unproven sports car. A car company lives or dies on volume. DeLorean had built a factory size for tens of thousands of cars a year and staffed it to match. Every month the cars sat unsold, the losses climbed. In its whole life, the company built only around 9,000 cars. It needed to sell many more, far faster, just to stay alive. It couldn't. In February 1982, the company went into receivership, and the layoffs began. Production stopped that spring. By the end of the year, the plant that was built to save a city had closed for good. All 2,500 jobs were gone. Think about that number for a moment. 2,500 families, in a place that had almost nothing else, tied to whether one stainless steel sports car could sell in America. When it didn't, all of it came down at once. The company had lasted 7 years, almost to the week. John DeLorean, the man who could have run General Motors, was watching his life's work disappear. And he needed money. Quick question before the turn. Was this car doomed from the start, or just born at the wrong time? Tell me in the comments. I read them. This is where the story takes the turn most people remember. And it's the part that has to be told with care because of how it ended. By now, DeLorean was a man with almost nothing left to lose. The company was in receivership. The factory that carried his name was winding down. He was looking for anything that might save it. On the 19th of October, 1982, DeLorean was arrested by the FBI and charged in a drug trafficking sting. Prosecutors said he'd agreed to help finance a cocaine deal to raise the cash his failing company needed. The contact came through James Hoffman, a government informant. Who called whom first would become the whole fight of the trial. There was FBI video shot in a hotel room wired for it. Before the trial even began, material from the case leaked to the press, and a lot of the public decided it was over. Tried in the papers, not yet in a courtroom. To a lot of people watching at home, the case looked closed before a single witness had spoken. That is worth sitting with, because the law had not spoken yet, and the law would say something very different. But DeLorean's lawyers argued something the jury would end up accepting. They called it entrapment. Federal agents, they said, had dangled a rescue in front of a cornered man, a deal he'd never have gone looking for on his own. On the 16th of August, 1984, the jury gave its answer: not guilty, on all 8 counts. Afterwards, jurors said plainly that they believed he had been entrapped. The verdict cleared his name. It could not give him back the company, the factory, or the years he had spent under a cloud on the front pages. 2 years on, DeLorean faced a second case entirely, accused of defrauding his own investors and dodging taxes. In December 1986, a jury acquitted him on every count there, too. In 2 separate trials, on 2 very different sets of charges, he was never convicted of anything. But never convicted doesn't tie up every loose end. The money side never fully closed. A Belfast court later jailed a Lotus executive, Fred Bushell, for 3 years, over millions routed out of DeLorean Motor Company through a Geneva-based, Panama-registered shell. DeLorean was alleged to have taken a share of it. He fought off extradition, was never tried in the United Kingdom, and was never convicted of anything, anywhere. But never convicted and cleared are not the same sentence. And in Northern Ireland, nobody has ever confused the two. So here's the trap at the center of this story, and it isn't the cocaine. Look at when the sting happened. It happened while the company was dying. The same recession that killed the car had left DeLorean cornered and short of cash. Strip away the drama, and the shape of it is almost simple. A brilliant man built something remarkable at exactly the wrong time, and then had everything to lose when someone came knocking. His lawyer's whole case was that this made him a target, that a desperate man is the easiest kind to set up. The jury agreed with them. So the real chain of events runs the other way round from the headline. The scandal didn't cause the collapse. The collapse is what created the opening for the scandal. The same brilliance that built the GTO also built a beautiful machine that arrived at the worst possible moment. Priced for a boom, delivered into a bust. The car was never really the problem. The timing was. And timing is the one thing even a brilliant man can't design his way out of. Its failure is what put him in that hotel room in the first place. The rest of his life was quieter and harder. He spent years tangled in lawsuits, fighting over what was left of the company and his name. The fortune was gone. In 1999, he declared personal bankruptcy. He died on the 19th of March, 2005, at the age of 80. He never built another car company. He never got another shot at the top job he'd walked away from.
And here's the final irony. The car that ruined him became immortal, not as a business, but as a movie machine that a whole generation grew up loving. You already know the film. We won't show it here, but you're picturing it right now. Fewer than 9,000 were ever built, and yet almost everyone alive can recognize one on sight. The failure became the legend. The company was gone in 7 years. The car will outlive us all. If this story pulled you in, a like genuinely helps it reach the next person who'd appreciate it. The man who could have run General Motors bet everything on a single, beautiful, impossible car. It cost him his company, his fortune, and very nearly his freedom. If you want its mirror image, watch this next. It's the story of a woman who was handed the greatest fortune in America. She spent her whole life chasing the one thing all that money could never buy.